Yo, football season is here. The Chargers got things started with a 27-7 win over the Texans, but you already know me by now. The final score is not what I was concentrating on. I was looking at individual performances, like who stood out, who took advantage of their opportunity, who helped themselves in roster battles, right? And who walked off that field saying, I still got some work to do. There's definitely some players who caught my attention last night. Amar Johnson made some noise, definitely. DJ Uiagalelei came in, and he took advantage of his opportunities, and I like what I saw from this Chargers defense in Chris O'Leary's first game running that side of the ball. And then there's Trey Lance. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one. So today what we're going to break down is what I saw in the Chargers' first preseason game, the good, the bad, the players who helped themselves, and a few things I'm definitely going to be watching as we move forward the rest of the preseason. I'm Stacy, and this is Chargers Talk 4630. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to Chargers Talk 4630. As always, I appreciate every single one of you for taking a few minutes out of your day to hang out with me and talk some Chargers football. And before we get started, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel continue to grow, and I truly appreciate all the support you guys been giving me. And also, don't forget to visit SLM Expressions for even more football content. We've got Chargers coverage updates for all 32 teams, and for all you fantasy lovers out there, we've now added a fantasy football section where you can keep up with your fantasy players and their stats, plus a whole lot more. That's slmexpressions.com. All right, now that we got that out the way, let's get into it. Preseason is here, and the Chargers, they opened it up with a 27-7 win over the Houston Texans. Now look, we know it's preseason. The final score honestly don't mean much, but the individual performances matter because you got guys fighting for roster spots, fighting for playing time. You got coaches trying to figure out who they can depend on when the regular season starts. And for a first preseason game, there was a lot that I liked, especially in the second half. Now, the Chargers was up 10-7 at halftime, and from the third quarter on, they pretty much controlled the game. Houston didn't score at all in the second half, and the defense kept giving the offense opportunities, right? And eventually, the Chargers started taking advantage of them, particularly in the second half. Now, Trey Lance got the start, and I don't know how people saw his performance, but at this point in his career, I got to say I was surprised at some of the mistakes he made. I mean, he's been in this league for 5 years now, and he hasn't played a lot of football, and I know that, but he missed on some big opportunities last night. He made some bad throws, so I know it's preseason, but I'm sure he would like to have a couple of those throws back. I mean, he was okay on that opening drive. They ran like 3 straight plays over there with Kamani Vidal, but Houston would not give up that edge, so they was having trouble moving the ball on the ground, but they got some help later on that drive from a face mask penalty, and eventually Cameron Dicker finished the drive with a field goal. Now, after that opening drive, Trey Lance was kind of off with his throws, I would say, right? And I'm trying to say it in a nice way. There was too many missed opportunities. He had plays where he had a running back wide open in the flat with nobody around him, and he's throwing the ball at his feet. There were several throws. KLS had his man beat deep downfield, but Trey took too long to let the ball go, and the defender was able to get back there and disrupt the play because KLS had to slow down and wait for the ball. There were balls thrown into double coverage. He took a sack that I thought he shouldn't have taken. The line gave him a whole lot of time, and I thought with his ability to scramble, if he wasn't going to pass the ball, he should have got out of there. There was a couple of throws he made to Brennan Thompson that I really didn't like. One of them, Thompson took a pretty good hit, right? And there were a couple of other slants where I thought Lance threw into double coverage while I was putting Brennan Thompson in position just to get blown up. And then that costly interception right before halftime. Actually, he could have easily thrown 3 picks, but 2 was dropped. One other play stood out. He had Scott Matlock wide open on the left side of the field with no one around him, and he just threw a bad pass at Scott's feet. If he wants to be the backup this year to Justin Herbert, he needs to fix those things. He needs to fix them quick. But it's preseason. I get it. The Chargers won the game, so Lance will get another shot at fighting for a backup spot next week. Now, we know the offense was vanilla. It's preseason. Mike McDaniel is not going to open up his playbook and show everybody what he's got in August, right? I understand that. But vanilla play calling don't have anything to do with accuracy, decision making, or recognizing when somebody is just standing wide open. But on a more positive note, there were some other offensive players who definitely caught my attention. And one of the biggest ones was Amar Johnson. Johnson scored twice on the ground. He contributed in the passing game. He gave this offense a spark. And his biggest play came after Uiagalelei. He took over at quarterback, got the ball out quickly to Johnson, who broke loose down the sideline and turned it into a 55-yard catch and run before being brought down right before the goal line. Then Johnson finished the drive by pounding it into the end zone. That's what preseason is about. You get an opportunity, and you better make somebody remember your name. And Amar Johnson, he did that. DJ also made the most of his opportunities when he came into the game. I like what I saw from him. He looked comfortable. He was efficient with the football. He threw a nice touchdown pass to Devontae Ross in the back of the end zone. Again, I'm not making this bigger than what it is. We're talking about a preseason game against backups and guys fighting for roster spots. But DJ came in and he did what you're supposed to do with your opportunity. Now, another guy fighting for a roster spot is Delevon Campbell. He's like 6'3", around 220 pounds. He got a 4.8 speed. And if you didn't know it was Campbell, he kind of looked like Mike Williams, and he wears the same number too. He looks the part. He got the size you look for in a wide receiver, and he made a nice 32-yard catch and run, but then he put the football on the ground. He didn't secure it, and the defender came around him, and he punched the ball out. Not good when you're fighting for maybe that final roster spot with a team that's loaded with talented receivers, right? You just can't give coaches a reason to take you off the field. That's the difference with preseason football. One play can help you, another play can hurt you, and we saw all of that on that one play. Now, the biggest thing that stood out to me overall was the defense. I thought the Chargers defense had a really good night. They forced turnovers. They had a couple of fourth down stops. They forced several 3-and-outs, right? They forced Houston to punt 5 times. And more importantly, they didn't allow a single point in the second half. Preseason or not, I thought that was an impressive debut for Chris O'Leary. And we know that's a unit that people are going to be watching closely, because one of the biggest questions we heard all offseason is what's going to happen to this defense without Jesse Minter? Are they going to take a step backwards? Is losing Jesse Minter really going to hurt? Well, if last night was any indication, I think they're going to be just fine. Now, it's one preseason game. I'm not getting carried away with it, but I like what I saw. They were disciplined. They got off the field. They created opportunities for the offense. And when Houston had chances to extend drives, the defense found ways to shut them down. And I love it. The offensive line, for the most part, was sufficient. I thought the pass protection was pretty good overall. In the first half, they had some trouble creating holes in the running game, particularly for Kamani Vidal, but that started changing in the second half. They started opening things up a little bit more. They mixed in some play action. The running game started getting better, and the offense started moving the football with more consistency. And that's really what I take away from this preseason game. There's plenty to clean up. There's plenty more to evaluate, and there are still roster battles that are nowhere close to being decided. I want to see a little more from Nick Barrett. I think Junior Colson made about 5 tackles. One of them was impressive because it was in the open field. He would have missed that last season. So I hope he continues to get better. Genesis Smith, he made some plays out there, and he looks the part for sure. He's rangy. He looks good out there in coverage. Like, he wasn't overwhelmed. He made a couple of mistakes early on in the game in the first half, but he showed confidence, right? He showed resilience. He didn't let a penalty and a couple of mistakes rattle him, right? He stayed focused, and he had a nice one-hand catch that would have been an interception, but he didn't get both feet down in bounds. But it was an impressive one-handed catch that would have been a touchdown for the Texans had he not broken that up. So I like the fact that he was able to bounce back and not get rattled after giving up that touchdown to Jared Wayne, right? He continued to challenge receivers and tight ends down the field. He played with confidence, and he looked like he had some dog in him too. So I like what I saw from Genesis Smith. Outside of Amar Johnson, I think Genesis Smith really did a good job getting the attention from this coaching staff. He definitely put some good stuff on film. But for the first preseason game, I thought there was a lot to be excited about. I thought Uiagalelei, he took advantage of his opportunities. The defense was stingy. The offensive line got better as the game went along. And the Chargers completely controlled the second half. And that's what preseason evaluation is about, right? It's nice to get the win, but overall you're evaluating who can play in this league and who can contribute to helping us win games. You look at individual performances. Who helped themselves? Who hurt themselves? Who showed the coaches something, right? And who still have a lot to work on. Those are things that I'm watching and what I'm looking for, and I love sharing with you. Now, some of these guys only have a couple of more opportunities to prove that they belong on this football team. And after the first preseason game, we got a few more names that we wasn't talking about before, and they really opening some eyes. Now, I want to finish with something that I think is actually a pretty good sign. For weeks, we've been talking about this offensive line. We've talked about the concerns at left tackle. We've talked about the competition at left guard. We've talked about who's going to step up, how this thing is going to come together, and what this offensive line is ultimately going to look like, right? But you know what we really haven't talked much from last night's game? The offensive line. And that's a good thing. Because usually after a game, when everybody is talking about the offensive line, it's because something that went wrong, right? Somebody couldn't protect the quarterback. Somebody was getting beat, or you couldn't run the football. That wasn't the conversation after this game. The pass protection was pretty good. Trey Lance had time on a number of those plays, and some of those sacks and pressures was not necessarily on the offensive line. And while they struggled to really establish the running game early, but after spending weeks wondering about this offensive line, we come out of this first preseason game and we're not talking about them because they quietly went out there and did their jobs. I'll take that. I get that it's only one preseason game. And look, I know what some people are going to say. It's preseason. Stop getting so excited. And that's true. It's preseason. But don't make the mistake of thinking these games don't matter. But I can guarantee you, the Houston Texans head coach is not telling his team, guys, don't worry about losing 27-7. Don't worry about scoring 7 points all night. Don't worry about getting shut out in the second half and punting the ball 5 times and turning the football over. It's just preseason. Nobody cares. That's not true. Because there were things they worked on throughout camp that they wanted to execute in this game, and they didn't. So, no, I'm not making more out of one preseason win than it is, but individual performances matter. Execution and depth matters. These players are fighting for their jobs, and coaches are evaluating everything they put on tape. So keeping it all in perspective, yes, it's preseason. But don't dismiss what these guys did just because it's preseason. Because I promise you, the coaches aren't. There's plenty to clean up, plenty more to evaluate, and a whole lot of guys still fighting to prove that they belong on this football team. But for the first look, I like what I saw. And I like the fact that under Mike McDaniel, they put up over 400 yards of offense. And with that, I'm going to put a bow on this one and end this podcast right here. Chargers led by Jim Harbaugh, Mike McDaniel, and Chris O'Leary get the victory 27-7, and everyone for the most part left this game completely healthy, which is great. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out SLM Expressions. We retooled the website as we get close to the season. Go check it out. Get involved. Use the live chats, and check out the trivia questions in the new fantasy section. If you're a football lover, you'll like it, I'm sure. I'm Stacy. This is Chargers Talk 4630. As always, I appreciate everybody that tuned in and rocked out with me today. Until next time, everybody stay safe, stay blessed, and bolt up.